Hi all, and welcome to another Toonkind at 12 FPS. My name is Candle. I'm going to be playing my wizard girl, Crystal Everlight, and I am joined today by the wonderful and amazing.
Oh shush. Oatmeal, who will be playing the professor, um, real kind space alien.
Who has definitely been learning stuff about Inkwell since he's been here,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It has been a gradual process, but he is learning things.
It's always fun. Professor,
mm.
you've got a whole bunch of friends and
He
family,
does
maybe.
have a lot of Toons in his life now, whom he is not especially well equipped to take care of, especially when it comes to medical things. Like,
Mm,
he can cast a quick cure wounds or whatever, but that's only gonna get you so far.
mm-hmm. Yep, and it's definitely not going to help you picking up on things that are not wrong, that are
Yeah.
wrong,
Uh.
which
uh
Toons, unfortunately, a little bit notorious for. Just I look at everyone's characters.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So in an effort to fill in the gaps in his knowledge, he is again at the Toonkind library, Toonkind Public Library. Um, Probably just at a table with stacks of books, and there's probably like a shelf behind him that's got like a full 3 feet that's just empty because he has all the books. Um,
uh, Very toony.
yeah, but yeah, like he's just going through everything in like this section, which is supposed to be medical, but like there's not as much as he would have hoped because toons don't write anything down.
Yep, yep. They're notoriously bad at paperwork, except for the ones that are good at paperwork and write way too much.
Mm-hmm.
All right. In that case, I feel like a role of some kind might be fun. Either either to see how he's going with his
Oh yes.
research, or
Um,
yeah.
yeah, that's a good. Let's see. Maybe I should just do. What do you think? Medicine or intelligence?
I think that or investigation was the other one I thought up.
Oh, investigation. Well, I'll do investigation because I have a much higher modifier in that. Um, like way higher. Uh, well, good because I rolled bad. Um, that's 14.
All right. I mean, you're getting somewhere, but also like there are a lot of gaps that you're not finding in, like it's like covering the same information pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ah.
He probably looks just like a little frustrated, like his toes tapping, and he's like probably drumming the table with his fingers.
Fantastic. All right. Actually kind of want to roll something for my character, see how this goes. I just think it would be really funny.
Mm.
Ah, okay, that's not too bad. It's not great, but it's not too bad. Cool. Dice Passer is working today.
Mm.
Um, so that was a strength roll.
Oh no.
Mostly because I thought it would be funny for my character to have a stack of books that she's trying to carry and seeing how well she's doing at it.
Gosh. Oh no.
So that was average. That was a 10. So
Yeah.
she hasn't dropped them yet, but I don't know if she can move very far at the moment.
All right. Okay. I did a perception for the professor to notice. That is a. Are you kidding? My perception's lower than my investigation now. All right. Whatever. Um, it's still a unnatural 20. So honestly, he's probably like just he, he's like annoyed at the keep seeing the same stuff in the book that he's like wandering, he's like looking around at this point, and he sees somebody with maybe too many books, who's like really, like you said, not going anywhere, and he's just gonna get up and move towards her and say, would you like a hand with that?
Yeah, you'll come across a stained glass looking design toon with a very, if you were to call her aesthetic anything, it would be nerdy, especially with those glasses. So maybe not surprising to find her trying to carry a whole bunch of books,
Mm-hmm.
but she does give a little bit of a strained smile and uh, yeah, that might be nice.
Mm-hmm. He's gonna take like I imagine it's a absurd stack of books, so he's probably gonna take like the first 2/3, the top 2/3 of it. Um, what am I? Do I need to roll or just?
I mean, you can if you want. That might be funny.
Yeah, it might. Okay. Mm, um, it's a 12. It's
I
not.
mean, you're doing better than her.
Yeah.
I think maybe there's a moment of, oh, 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 that's a lot of books.
Yeah. 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 Um. But yeah, I probably between the two of them, they're able to get them somewhere
Hmm. Hmm.
to a
Maybe
desk.
to the maybe to the table that the professor had
Yeah.
taken
Yeah.
up.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
So, he's gonna look at the books. Is there any sort of trend?
Oh, yeah. I mean, maybe less so than you think. I did. So, uh, the trend that you probably tell is magic, but there are other things thrown in there. So, like,
Mm.
you can see book on wild magic, book on the Independent Isles,
Hmm.
book on. There's a therapy for dummies in
Hmm.
there.
Oh my gosh.
There's um minor deities of Einquell,
Wow.
uh, e- enchantment magic, a few books on enchantment magic,
Mm-hmm.
uh, yeah, that sort of thing. They're less, like you can sort of see a bit of a theme through it that there is like this thread of like magic research, but also more obscure kinds.
Hmm. Yeah, he kind of just like um looks kind of like puzzled at the books, and he says, "Are you? What are you researching? Is this all related to one thing, or is it just?" Um,
Oh, no. Well, yes and no. It's all related to my field of study. This is for separate cases, so
oh,
I've just exhausted my own supply and needed to see what the library had to offer.
that's fair. What's your field of study, out of curiosity?
Ah, right. Well, I and she's gonna hold out her hand to shake now that she's walks down. Is it right? My name is Dr. Crystal Everlight. I work in researching magical maladies and the identification and mitigation of curses, illnesses, and other unwanted magical sources.
Yeah. His eyes go wide, and he absolutely handshakes. And he says, "Well, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm the professor. I that's actually sup. That's okay. Your specialty is sort of along the lines of what I was trying to research, as it happens."
Oh, um, well, I mean, you did help me with my books. Did did you need any help?
Um, I yes, I think it's just I keep poring over the books that are here, and there's some basics. There's a few odd things that aren't relevant. Um, I just can't seem to.
Toons are not the sort to write things down.
Yes, I'm coming to realize that. Well, um, you see, the thing is, um, I'm new to this region, and um, I don't, I never knew about Toons before I came here, and now I have several who are kind of under my mentorship, and he sort of like waves a hand like that's probably a nebulous term for whatever's going on.
Mm-hmm,
Um,
mm-hmm.
and I've found myself with a rather concerning uh, lack of knowledge of what's normal and what's not. I somebody something happens, and I find out that they were sick this whole time, and I didn't realize.
Ah, yes. That unfortunately happens way too often. I mean, to be fair, I commend you. Not many real kind actually spend that much time trying to figure out tunes, probably because it's quite so difficult. I mean, the very first rule about tunes is there are always exceptions. So,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, it does. It does make things difficult.
Yes, that's one way of putting it. But yes, I've been, well, officially studying this topic for 10 years now.
Mm.
Unofficially, probably closer to 20.
Oh.
But yes, I should be able to help. Uh, where would you like to start?
Well, I suppose I it would probably be helpful to have a sort of basis of what a healthy, happy tune is, generally speaking, going to look like, going to act like, and then maybe um, eh, some uh, easy to pick out red flags. I don't know. He sort of shrugs.
Yeah, yeah, she's gonna nod. I think she's gonna sit down, and then I'm gonna roll hammer space.
Yeah, he'll sit down at the table as well.
Yeah, that's a 5. So she pulls out a very thick document that is handwritten. And she's like, just a little bit of a wry grin, and I might have some notes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and all right. So unfortunately, there's no easy answer to that. What a healthy tune looks like, because that varies so wildly. But I can give you some pointers of where to look.
Mm.
Oftentimes with tunes, the best way to pick up on whether something is wrong is to do with context and other tunes, others of their subrace, others in their family, that sort of thing can help you figure out whether something is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how much do you know about the tune subraces?
I know how to identify them. I have maybe an 80% success rate. Um, I understand most of the differences between them.
That's pretty good, actually.
A friend
I
of mine
know.
taught me.
Yes, well, they've done a good job then, because I know tunes that can't tell subraces apart that well, but uh, that's probably an entire different point of discussion.
Well, I
Um,
may be somewhat overestimating my ability.
of course. Uh, so, subraces can play a big part in what is normal or not. For instance, Frankenali tunes are more likely to obey the rules of physics than, for instance, a worn or a rubber hose is.
Mm.
So that can be a good place to start with what is usual and unusual behavior, particularly around things to do with the regular things that you would think of, so sleep, food, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the bases I've found particularly well, works well. Um, the other is, well, basically lineage. Whether a tune has popped into existence or been created via other tunes will
Mm-hmm.
often tell you time about what sort of behavior to expect from them.
Mm.
And particularly, I find that one is useful around aging in tunes. If tune
Right.
is uh, from a lineage, whether that be delivered by the Fords or through more similar means to other real kind, they are more likely to age normally or
Delivered by the
close
what?
to another race. Oh, the Fords, the stork family that delivers babies.
Oh, he just looks like, okay, sure, of course. Like, right. All right. He just sort of like, raises his eyebrows and nods, like, okay, that's a given, sure. Um,
They're the second most. They're the second most common method of tune reproduction.
huh. Well, okay.
Mm, yes. Well, tunes are made from creativity and magic, so the ways they come into existence is, I suppose, unique
Hmm.
compared to other races.
Sure.
And she looks a little bit lost for a moment, like, I lost my train of thought.
Hmm.
And then, like, right, right. Uh, tunes that pop into existence are much more likely to have uh, unusual rates of aging, either very slow, none at all, or very fast.
Hmm.
Whereas yeah, those that are birthed from a lineage are more likely to either age at the same rate as a some kind of real kind would, or rapidly to get to adulthood and then more slowly from there.
Interesting. Hmm. All right. I don't know quite how much lineage would help with the particular cases I have in mind, because let's see, one of them I don't know. One of them, well, I used to know a little bit, and then all our memories were erased, and he just sort of like waves a hand. And then the other one I know, but I don't know the specifics. And they're a hybrid, half toon. So it's going to be different anyway.
Yes, there is less knowledge on half-toons. That tends to vary. The mixing of physical body and magical body is still very unknown, but they are probably more likely to take after physical part of their lineage more so than other toons are, which can help, but she just like sort of pushes her hands out like, what are you gonna do about it? This is my life.
Yeah, he nods.
Unfortunately, a lot of the time your best case is going to need to be to talk to the toon to find out this sort of thing. I can give you pointers to what to look for, but that's only ever going to be context clues.
Right. Right. Well, that's going to be difficult. Like I said, memories erased. I did see. Um, oh, how do I explain this? Somebody got a redesign, and their sibling has it's he's like struggling to like explain, like say it without saying it like outright. And he's just like got his face in his hands. Well, how do I? The sibling, I could see the redesign that they're going to get, but they haven't got yet, and it matches the sibling, and both of them. Huh? What?
Sorry, I think my internet might have dropped out for a moment, so
Oh.
I missed half of what you said.
Oh, okay. He said, I saw the future redesign of the sibling, which they haven't got yet, and then the other one, like I said, got their redesign, and it's both. They both involve features that are completely out of left field for what we thought that their lineage. They just got wings, for heaven's sakes. They didn't have those before.
Oh, would you like to roll an insight?
Yes.
I think I might contest this.
Okay, well, I got a good roll, so.
Did not.
Oof. Let's see. That's gonna be a 22, I think.
I got an 8.
Oof, oof, oof.
Yeah, you will see her expression turn into a frown when you mention, oh, they got wings on their redesign. And that seems to have hit a bit of a personal note for her, but she's trying to remain professional. So.
Yeah, he just sort of like he like visibly notices, and like just like, he was sort of being a bit like, waving his hands around, whatever, and he sort of like just takes a second to be slightly more subdued, and he says, well, anyways.
Uh, Redesigns are not uncommon for toons. Oftentimes they can come about due to um, not relevant or quite emotionally or physically intensive situations. It's, I guess, in some
Trauma.
ways, a coping method. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but they don't have to come about that way. Sometimes they come about for good reasons or completely spontaneously. And uh, sometimes the changes are minor, sometimes they're not. It is more rare for a character design to shift so far from what is expected, and particularly extra features or shifting of that of extremities and overall shape design is less common but not unheard of. Are those do tend to be more commonly linked with uh, trauma, however, in my experience.
Yeah, he nods and he looks a little worried, but he tilts his head a bit and he says, well, unfortunately, the event that immediately predicated the change could very easily, um, yeah, it was traumatic.
Though I suppose the other thing to consider is potentially unknown, potentially unknown heritage that is surfacing many generations later. That is also more common than you would think, but
Yes.
often as well triggered by some sort of event.
Mm-hmm. I had the thought it could be nothing, but I had the thought that, just by the look of them, that somewhere, uh, further up their family tree, maybe there was an Azamar or something. I don't know.
Hmm. That would not be a bad assumption. Asthma is definitely the sort that would show up unexpectedly than other winged races, but
Mm-hmm.
would not be the only one. Just probably one of the most common of the uncommon cases.
Mm-hmm.
I
Hmm.
don't know if that made any sense.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. Um.
Though,
Oh, yes. Continue.
thankfully, redesign very rarely end up being uh, painful or causing any sort of um, tunes who go through redesigns, even traumatic ones, are not likely to have any adverse change. Just maybe a bit of an adjustment period.
Oh, yes, that was. Oh, and when the same friend went through a prior redesign, that was one of the first things I asked. Um, was it uh, was it painful? And they told me no. So that was very relieving to hear.
It is a bad sign if a redesign is painful. That suggests that there is something else wrong.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Um. Um. Let's see. I suppose. Are there? Uh, I haven't found anything, any sort of like uh, taps his hand on the stacks of books that he had. He says, I haven't found anything to indicate that there might be any sort of through line, but are there any not consonants? He's like, I know they're not. Um, Nothing is like there are always exceptions, and there are exceptions to the exceptions. Um, but are there any trends? Perhaps that's a better way to put it. Um, Regarding uh, more elemental based uh, tunes, yeah, fire, water, etc.
Um, Trends definitely. I have not had the most coverage of elemental tunes, but those that I have, eh, I suppose it varies on how much elemental they are as to uh, how much that affects their day-to-day being. Those that are m- take after a more common appearance with only elemental aspects are more likely to take after the more common aspects of other toons. So regular eating and sleeping habits, aging, that sort of thing. But the more that they tend into the elemental part of their design, the more likely it is that it will affect the way that they act and behave. Um, so, for instance, needing different sources of sustenance, having vulnerabilities is a particular one. You will probably see that like vulnerabilities and resistances are much more
Mm.
common uh, even if they only partially take after that heritage. Um, Other behavior, it can sometimes influence the stereotypical behavior that you would expect from a race of that kind. Air elementals tend to be more flighty in general,
Mm.
and free spirited. Fire elementals can often have a temper, things like that. No
Mm-hmm.
hard rules, but
Trends.
definitely trends.
Right. Right. He's been like particularly subdued during this explanation. Um, uh, and like gradually looking slightly more like anxious. Um, and he just sort of like taps on the table, um, not looking her in the eyes, and he says, "So I think I have a situation where there's a toon who appears to be the type that has only elemental features, one part of the body, but it actually is supposed to be more. He waves a hand like up and down, like I I'm I'm pretty sure they're supposed to be almost completely on fire, and they're not, and they do have those uh, resistances and the weaknesses, and they eat wood, and he's just like this is bad,
Mm.
and
Yeah,
and
she's
and it's
been
it
nodding along with what you've been saying.
yeah, and he's just I like I wouldn't have. I mean, this is just confirming something I already know, more or less, because I, I think he tilts his head. I think it was actually um, a, a real kind in what was that place called? Oh, it was um, somewhere in Ghibli. Saw saw this Toon, my friend, and just apparently he like shrugs. It immediately clocked that she hadn't been eating.
Hmm. Yes. That doesn't actually surprise me. Elementals tend to be a lot more innately able to tell these sort of things about others of their type than most regular um, races can.
I don't know if he was an elemental, is the thing. I mean, he
Oh,
looked, I don't know, human, elvish, uh, but, uh, it's the sort of area, the sort of place where somebody could look human and actually be, say, a dragon or something. So he just sort of shrugs.
yes. Ghibli has areas like that. There's a lot of the immortal races that enjoy spending time there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that is concerning, though. It definitely doesn't sound good. I
Mm-hmm.
suppose the question would be whether it is a. It does sound like, from what you've described, that your friend does have an issue
Mm-hmm.
with not being the way that they're supposed to be elemental wise. The question would be whether that is a result of the physical environment they're in or a emotional one that they are deliberately
Mm-hmm.
stopping themselves from being that way. That is, uh, again, I don't have a huge amount of experience with elementals, but
Sure.
a unfortunately common occurrence, particularly in fire elementals, is their desire to suppress some of the more nasty sides of their characteristics.
I can understand that. Still. Yes, I suppose I'll have to look into that more. I I don't know if she'll tell me, but I might be able to uh, might be able to pry it out of one of the other friends. Mm.
Mm. Um, Perhaps, I mean, you can do things like checking that eating, sleeping regularly, that sort of thing, but perhaps if it is an emotional part, that creating an environment she feels safe in to be herself fully
Mm-hmm.
might help.
Yes, we've been trying, but I think it's going to be slow going.
Mm.
But I don't know. We'll see.
Yes, unfortunately, that tends to be the case often enough.
Hmm. Well, um, let's see. It's obviously got that to work on. Oh, something very odd, which I haven't found anything, any literature on. Nothing, not a thing, not a word. Um, is, is, and I don't know if this is, I don't know if this is rude to ask, but is Toon Ink mutagenic?
As in the ability to change or the ability to infect others?
Um, mm, More of the infection sort, like Toon Ink applied to a real kind, given that real kind, more toonish qualities that I mean, they didn't have before because they were a full blooded real kind. So he does a big shrug.
I'm gonna roll a history on this one actually, see if she's come across anything like this before.
Uh huh. I can think of one thing that she possibly could have heard of. I don't. I don't know if you know it, but if she gets a good roll, and you don't bring it up, I might mention it.
Um, I'm gonna
Ooh,
say yes,
holy
that
crap.
she has heard of this before.
Yeah!
She has really high modifiers in like all of the things that you would expect for this kind of work.
Wow, yeah. Okay, so player to player, do you know about the Dora Z thing?
Yes, I am
Okay.
aware of that.
Okay. All right. I won't say
I
anything
don't know
else.
how public that is,
I
but
I don't, but she also is in prison. There are guards.
yeah, yeah, and also in Toontown.
It might be very
No,
hush
it's
hush,
in
but
Villstown.
yeah, it
Yeah.
might be very hush hush. However, medical
Mm.
professional. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah, yeah. There's definitely a like an eyebrow raise at that uh question, but her expression is not surprised. It does darken a little bit because yes, that history roll says that she has come across this and it has stuck out in her memory.
Mm,
So I think she's not going to give details on where she's come across it
sure.
because yeah, but I think just it is not unheard of. It is highly irregular and mm, eh, generally it is not. Again, I do not know everything about it, but at least in the few cases I've come across, it was not an accident that the real kind ended up with Toon ink
Mm,
infecting them. It takes a lot of very deliberate work for it to have that sort of effect.
mm, it, it was supposed to have been an accident, but I mean, I wasn't there. I couldn't tell you, but I don't know. Although it was sort of a half. No. Well, okay. So the friend who's a toon, there's two of them, both friends of mine. One of them's a toon. One of them's a real kind. The real kind has, like I said, been splashed, let's say, with ink from the toon, but not because like he had a cut or something and he was helping. It was actually something a lot more um, involved. Um, toon trade stuff, exports. He sort of like makes a face.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a ah distaste kind of face that she makes with that, and then that might do it.
And now they know each other, which is something. But yeah, no, before that they were strangers, and now they are friends with each other. So
That is unusual, but mm, the I know that at the very least some of the Toon trade have uh, magic that they use on the ink that could make it more
potent.
pliable, I guess.
I see. Right. it's been mixed with something, or well, magicked up somehow, or
More than likely. It is not it in my experience is not common for infection based on just in small interaction or even fairly large interaction with Toon ink. Uh, you
incidental
would,
contact.
yes, you would need to either uh, absorb a large amount of Toon ink into your body, uh, or have some sort of magic uh, reactor to instigate the change upon contact.
His nose scrunches, and uh he sort of like looks like he's thinking about something, um and he's like looking off in the distance, and then he like looks at Crystal, and he says, "You've probably heard of the taffy train incident."
Hmm. Yes, I have. Most Toons have.
Yes. um I just wonder, you know, because that she did that.
You are asking about Dora Z and the implications of her drinking another Toon.
Yes, I'm uh, mm, maybe a bit morbid, but I'm actually curious if the dip would have nullified it, or not. Because if it happened the way I heard it happened, I mean, she probably absorbed it.
Mm, that is not a bad assumption.
Hmm.
I probably not good for me to go into confidential details, but I can uh, confirm that I have uh, been made aware of the state that she is in to some extent, even if that is not something I am fully on board with.
Hmm. He just sort of like uh raises an eyebrow and gives her a significant look, like she didn't outright say what that condition was, but he he is he is picking up what she's putting down. Like he is getting that implication, and he's just like, he just kind of looks like, well, and like nods like, okay. um
Yeah, there's a reason she's being vague.
yeah, yeah, yeah. um but but yeah, he sort of like he shifts his posture, um, and uh, he says, um, "There's, let's see, you were was it magical maladies that you were studying?"
Yes, I created the Everlight standard, which is used in the hospitals and facilities registries around Inkwell, which helps identify uh, magical sources, be they disease-based like uh, disability, or from packs, uh, wild magic, curses, that sort of thing.
Yeah, he raises his eyebrows and looks very impressed. He says, "Well, a whole standard named after you. That's very impressive."
I should hope so. I wrote the entire thing.
Huh. Interesting. Interesting. Um, well, on that subject, how might somebody um, hmm, would it be possible to make a spell stick um, and not be able to be dispelled with either dispel magic or even greater restoration or remove curse? Um, Given that this person might have ink belonging to the target in question.
Hmm. No insight necessary. Her expression sours, like, very much so. And then she just nods before explaining further with a dispel magic, remove curse, and greater restoration are generally uh, going to help you out with a lot of your more common magical illnesses and etc., that sort of thing. But there is definitely cases where that's not going to work. Sometimes it is a result of it being just much higher level magic than what is available by the person trying to undo the spell. But sometimes it can be a result of it being difficult to target uh, the magic itself. Oftentimes, when you have mixing magical sources, it can be difficult to pinpoint exactly what it is that you're trying to dispel, and that can make it difficult to counteract.
Hmm. Mm-hmm. Something, something of. I know some people mix spells sometimes, but probably that and everything else more complicated than that.
It's less about mixing spells and more about mixing magical sources. So, for instance, toon magic is different to celestial or infernal magic, which is different to elemental magic, which is different to fey magic, which is different from. You get the point.
Right,
And
right.
when they mix, they can have unexpected effects on each other that are not well known or documented.
Huh.
And that, for one, makes it very difficult to identify what is wrong, but can
Hmm.
also make it more difficult to counteract because it has fundamentally changed the nature of what was cast.
Right, right. Hmm. Hmm. It's just I can't even identify the it's like all the magic is gone. Like that part worked, but 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 the effects of the spell continue, even though supposedly there's no magic on the kid. But I can see it working. Like it's Gias. He's running around doing stuff that he doesn't want to do, and it, it should have been gone. Everything I have says it's gone, but it persists.
That is strange. I have not come across many where the magic is gone, but the effects remain. It's not completely unheard of, particularly wild magic and deity
Something
magic.
divine, exactly.
The more common, but that is definitely unusual.
Oh gosh, I really hope they don't have a god on their side. That's just what we need.
Yeah. Deities can be a big pain in this field.
I imagine they complicate everything.
Yes. I mean, sometimes they help, but more often than not, you get the sort that are trying to help and don't know what they're doing, and the sort that are just trying to cause problems on purpose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Candle,
There's just an expression on her face that says, "I would fight them if I had the ability to."
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, gosh. Um, Bit out of left field. Muppet Born. Not Toons?
Not Toons. Can have some similarities to Toons compared to other real kind races, but no, they're not Toons.
Alright, interesting.
Bit too much substance there.
Yes, yes. Still, pretty similar to, Housen's.
Yes, they are. There are some fundamental differences, though, in that even though Housens have physical matter, or more physical matter than a lot of other Toons, they're still fundamentally made of magic and creativity, just given a different form than the usual ink that most other Toons are made out of. Whereas Muppet Born start uh, with the material and then given life from there.
Alright, okay. Alright.
It is a little bit of a nitpick, I will admit, but sometimes these things are very important when you're trying to identify things and how it could affect someone.
Oh, certainly. I mean, it's just trying to heal a Muppet Born. I mean, it's apparently mending helps.
Yes, mending can be very useful for Muppets, which is incredibly handy. It would be nice if more healing spells had that potency.
Yes. Another sort of unrelated question, and he sort of tilts his head. Color changing toons. These books seem to indicate there aren't many. At least, I mean, toons change colors, yes. Real kind change colors too, for that matter. But the sort of it's usually emotion based or something, more of a whole body effect. Are they not common?
Your deception is garbage today, Crystal.
Oh. Oh god. I don't think I even need to contest that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want me to, but oh god.
Nah, it's fine. It makes sense. There's another sort of like similar to when you mentioned the redesigns with wings. There's a like
Mm-hmm.
that kind of uh twitch mouth kind of going down kind of thing that says that she's had experience with the color changing tunes in some sort of
Mm.
personal capacity at the moment that is a lot, but she's also like, yeah, like, she is trying to remain professional, but that hit a bit hard.
Yeah, he sees that and like he gives a bit of a like sympathetic wince. Uh uh I can understand why that subject is I mean considering the one I know, a bit fraught.
It's sorry, my sister recently had a redesign that changed her design to be color changing.
Oh,
It's still a fairly fresh subject, so I
right.
apologize.
No, I'm sorry to have to bring it up.
It was unfortunately, it was one of those redesigns that was brought on by trauma, so
Mm.
it's been difficult for all of us at the moment.
Certainly, certainly, of course. Right.
But yes, color changing tunes are less common. They are more abundant than you would think from the term less common, but still like 1 in 10, sometimes close to like 1 in 100,
Hmm.
that sort of range.
Mm-hmm.
Not uncommon to know someone, but also not surprising if you don't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, they can oftentimes be um, can emotion is definitely a big thing that can cause color changing, though I am aware of tunes who have other factors that influence their design. My sister, for example, it's the magic that she uses.
Oh,
Um,
well, I suppose that makes sense.
but generally, generally there will be a core thread of what affects their color change.
Mm-hmm. There's some determining cause,
Yes,
even
it
if
is
it's
very
different between individuals.
yes, it is very uncommon for a color change to occur without any sort of trend or pattern, or if they are aware of it, that is generally a sign that there is something out of the ordinary happening there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hmm.
But color changing tunes can also be a little bit more susceptible to certain illnesses, generally mild, but magic deficiencies,
Mm.
uh, common colds can be more susceptible to,
Oh.
do need to be more careful about keeping the energy
Mm-hmm.
reasonable. Um, y-
Hmm.
Not anything out of proportion, just, and again, this is a always exceptions kind of thing, but
Mm-hmm.
it is, there's a reason that tunes get their colors checked to make sure that they are healthy.
They get their colors checked. And he tilts his head.
Oh, yes, the ECCR, the Inkwell Color Registry, is it's where tunes go to get their colors checked, to make sure that they are remaining healthy, because that can oftentimes be shown through color changes in design.
Oh. That's interesting. Hmm. Huh.
Yes, I suppose it not like always brought up in conversation. It's one of those topics that people, well, Toons just assume that other people know,
Mm.
like the
Mm-hmm.
Fords or.
Oh, sure, sure. Uh,
You are aware of what dip is, right?
yes. Yes. I looked into that incident, when I was told about it, and, yes, that was one of the key details, so yes, I know what it is.
Good, because that is definitely not something that you want Toon to come in contact with, because even if they survive it, sometimes it can cause irreversible harm.
Hmm. Hmm. I hmm, may have to. Hmm, make sure my laboratory is sufficiently labeled and locked in that case.
That would be a good idea,
Not
especially.
not if I'm not because I have that specifically, but the components. He just sort of like shrugs. Unfortunately, very common in chemistry.
Yes, and even the components can be generally not deadly, but can cause severe injury if exposed to as a toon.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, good to know. Good to know.
Just to kind of nod like a yeah, that's probably a good one to know.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Uh, 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 uh. Oh, yeah. He drums his fingers on the table a bit. Um, have you ever heard of somebody a toon? Actually, well, a half toon specifically, developing magic spontaneously after not having it for a very long time.
Hmm. Um, I actually, uh, I'm not going to roll for that one because now that I'm thinking about it, that's uh definitely something that she would have come across. Maybe not quite to the same capacity, but
Mm.
suddenly developing magic is not. I mean, like I just look at the sorceress subclass. There's definitely likely people that she's come across in that,
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
that's not even including my own lore stuff. So, um, uh, uh, yeah, there's a nod like that is not unheard of. Specifics I don't know, but generally it is, even if it is a surprise at the time, um, there can often be uh, signs that point to an origin.
Mm.
Sometimes it can also be magic of a different source than one is normally used to. Um, there are a few cases, and she gestures to the books that she still got on the table,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
that I've been looking into of the such type. You will often find perhaps ancestry or some sort of interaction with a magical source, even if it was a fair amount of time ago. Again, deities is another common source,
Right,
or
right.
powerful beings of the sort.
Mm-hmm. I seem to have eliminated lineage as a source, and uh, I don't. Well, the other one, possible, but I think in this specific case, also unlikely, considering. But, don't know.
Yes, it is never. That sort of thing is definitely one of the worst that I've. Well, hyperbole, there is um, definitely things worse, but frustrating. Yeah, definitely things that are not quite as. I find less frustrating than
Mm-hmm.
dealing with sudden, unknown magical sources and what
Sure.
sort of effects they might have.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. I mean, until I
They
knew.
just
What?
they just tend to be so inconsistent and random.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Can't predict them.
Mm. I mean, I was willing to chalk it up to just magical puberty, but given the context, it didn't really make sense.
Context?
Um, well, the uh, age and circumstance of the individual.
Right. Yes. Context. Well, like I said before, context tends to be everything in these cases. Mm. It's probably as much as I can give you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hmm. Well, this all has been extremely illuminating. Thank you.
Oh, of course. It's. I. The reason I got into this line of work is because I want to help people. So, you know, it's my pleasure.
Yeah, he smiles. Um, gosh, is there anything I can help you with?
Ah, well, I could probably use some help getting the books to the desk. I can carry them once I get there in hammer space, but getting them there might take me a few trips.
Mm-hmm. I can help with that.
It was lovely to meet you, Professor.
Oh, lovely to meet you too, Doctor. And I guess that's probably about where we leave them, yeah?
Yep, sounds good to me.
All right. Very nice, very nice. Thank you, audience, present and future, for listening. Um, we wish you all a good time zone, uh, and bid you all goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.